Random wrestling thought of the day. So I'm watching Ring of Honor, which the past few days I've been getting into. And I have to say, once again, I'm really impressed. Really impressed with what I'm seeing. Wish I'd been watching sooner. Right now, I'm currently watching the Briscoes in a match with what seems like two luchadors in masks. I think one, I'm not sure if that's Dragon Lee, and his tag team partner. I'm sorry, I can't remember. The reason why I'm recording this is because I remember, I think it might have been Chris Van Vliet. I did an interview with the Briscoes, and I remember them saying that they were interested in wrestling the Usos. And I remember the Usos being very interested in wrestling the Hardy Boys. And that almost happened until Jeff banged up his leg and had to take a leave, of course, which is why they had the Usos drop the title, I believe, to the Hardy Boys. And I think the Usos wanted to wrestle them at WrestleMania, and it should have happened, but it didn't. I bring this all up to say that I have to think that on an indie level, if the Usos left WWE, and let's say they did a 3-match contract with Ring of Honor, right? They make an appearance. They do something crazy to the Briscoes. Open a challenge to the Briscoes. Then you have an event. Let's say it's going to be a pay-per-view. You have a 5-match pay-per-view where you have, a good card of 5 matches. Briscoes versus the Usos being one. I gotta believe that would be one decent payday for the Usos. And I'm not sitting here saying it's going to be WWE money, but it would really help Ring of Honor, of course, their cachet, but just on an indie level, especially having control of their own merch, which, in my opinion, the Usos have some of the best merch that I've seen. Some of them, okay, within WWE. But, now they would be in control of their own merch, get a decent payday for Ring of Honor, right? You'd have, the first pay-per-view event or whatever, and I'm not going to say who would win what match, but they're going to go, let's say, best out of, 2 out of 3, just in a match. So you have that first pay-per-view, and they don't even really have to be on Ring of Honor. It could just make appearances. I mean, like every week on Ring of Honor. They could just make appearances. You have the first pay-per-view. Let's say they took the L, Briscoes won. Then they'd appear, 2 or 3 weeks into it. Challenge them again to a rematch. Have another pay-per-view. Maybe this time they'd win. And then do the same thing and have a third pay-per-view. Comes to a draw or whatever. They decide. Whoever's going to win is going to win. I really do think that they could draw. I'm talking about like solid cards. Just 5 matches. 5 matches per event. Not 89 matches. 4 to 5 good matches. You stack that goddamn card. And at the end it would be the Usos versus the Briscoes. Usos can even do a tour. The twin tour or something. The brothers tour. Whatever. And then, by this time, Jeff's going to be at his contract probably, let's say around sometime next year. Matt will be out. Jeff is going to navigate to wherever Matt is. I don't know when the Usos contract is up. I have no idea if they re-up. I'm just going off of my imagination, my funky-dunky imagination. Then let's say they migrated over to wherever, Hardy's, AEW, Impact, whatever. Do the same thing there. Then you have a 6-man joint. Hardy's, Briscoes, Usos. Steel cage match. Because by the time all this happens, with Skrull being the liaison between NWA and soon to be AEW, you can cross these different companies. God damn. I believe that they would make some serious fucking cash. And I'll end it there. Side note, I want to add that I do remember that when their contracts, I think they might have resigned, because this happened around when the buzz of AEW, Rikishi had sent a tweet, I believe, or something on social media. He made a comment on social media explaining to them, like, you guys have made history. Whoa. You guys have made history. You've done, a lot here at WWE, and it may be time for you to test the waters and spread your wings. You know what I mean? Like, lesser schedule. Sometimes it's good to get out while the iron is hot and while you're hot. And you can command a level of cachet, because I believe that with these different federations and the way that business is starting to take shape, these talents going on the indie scene, the money is going to be a different level of money. I gotta believe within the next 2 years or so. It's gotta be a different level of money with less stress. And I believe that you should get in while the iron is hot. So I'll leave it at that. I won't say any more. See what I can say. That's my thought on it.
Is there anything else you guys have your eyes set on?
Well, I mean, we just really, at this point, man, we just want big-time matches.
Yeah.
And for that to happen, we need big-time tag teams to wrestle against.
Yeah.
So, your USOs, what's good? Have your people call my people. We could do this.
We can make this work out, baby. We can work it out.
So we went and spent some time in the USO penitentiary. Is that what we're saying, yeah?
All right.
So I'm watching AEW Dark, and they introduce a new character called Abadon. She's kind of, well, not kind of, she reminds me of Su Yung, right? And her opponent is the number one contender, Hikaru Shida. And Excalibur and Taz, they made a comment when Abadon went to pin Shida, saying, what would happen? It would be a major upset in the women's division, right? Something to that effect. And I'm sitting here thinking to myself, like, isn't that what's going to make you different? I mean, at the end of the day, she lost. But all the while, I kept thinking, like, wow, you have this very interesting character, this dark character, right? That you're introducing to the AEW audience. Why not just have her wrestle another new character, another new talent, rather than wrestling your number one contender and then just jobbing out. It's like when I saw 2 or 3 months ago when Raw had Chelsea Green come out and lose to Charlotte Flair, and then they had Deonna Purrazzo the week prior wrestle Asuka and lose. And I'm like, damn, like, look, we live in a world of fantasy. This whole thing is fucking fancy. I get it. All right, cool. But don't try to blow sunshine up my ass and tell me this is where the new talent's coming from, NXT, and then you move them up and then they fucking, like, lose. Have them, like, lose by count out. The Deonna match was really good with Asuka, and just have, like, Deonna just get out the hole and just bounce. Be like, no, I'm not going to lose this way. I'm out. I'll see you another time. She loses by count out. Asuka still gets the win. Same thing with Chelsea. Chelsea could have did something dastardly, cheated, got DQ, and left. Now, it was at that time rumored that they were supposed to be moving up. Whatever, but you know how shit goes. So they end up going back down to NXT. or staying at NXT. You know, it's like no harm, no foul. Like, it's like I would hate to see AEW, because they're showing signs of it. We're not competitive with WWE. I knew that was bullshit from the jump. You know that, right? And then you're like, not even trying, because the WWE's in a slide. We know this. But, you have AEW, and it's supposed to be an alternative, something different. But yet, it looks like you're doing the same shit. So it just would have been interesting. Like, why not take the L? It's still not going to hurt. I mean, look, Sheeta, since she's the number one contender, she's, supposed to have a match with Nyla Rose. Now, I don't really see Nyla Rose losing anytime soon. So if they have a match next week, tonight on fucking Dynamite, next pay-per-view, I don't see Sheeta beating Nyla Rose this soon. And even if she laid down for Abadon, it wasn't, all right, so like she would be tied for number 2 or something, and then she would have another match with the number 2 person and beat them and reclaim the number 1. But it still keeps Abadon interesting if you're going to sign her. Because sometimes they have talent come out and they're not signed yet and they're testing the waters. But just, it keeps them interesting. It's the same shit that I watched they did with Jeff Cobb. Jeff Cobb wrestled Moxley and then, like, took the L. How about you cheat, takes the W? Like, okay. I mean, look, it's too early, but I mean, it's like I'm seeing signs of you guys are doing the same stuff. There's nothing different. That's just, and it's not like just this. I've already listed other examples, but it just doesn't make sense. Like, am I going to look lesser of Moxley because he got beat by Cobb? No. Even if he already had a title match. This is what, 2-3 weeks before the pay-per-view Revolution? Oh, wow, Moxley lost to Jericho in this fake world, so maybe you shouldn't have a match. Like, come on. If this is storytelling, let's do fucking storytelling. Let's not do bullshit. Because it's like the curtain's been pulled no matter what. Like, do I really see the pay-per-view buys dropping because Moxley fucking lost to Jeff Cobb 3 weeks prior? Do I see the pay-per-view buy going down because Cody lost to I don't want to mess his name, but the bodyguard for MJF? No. Especially if you do it in a certain way where it's like, okay, yeah, you took the L, you cheated. And it's also encouraging. That's probably why Jeff Cobb hasn't signed the contract yet. And then on top of it, when they rolled him out, you're going to be facing Jeff Cobb next week. He's coming. Blah, 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 and then take the L. And another thing, I remember about 2 months ago or so, I had made a comment on Ryback's podcast, and he had hearted the comment, right, for what it's worth, stating that Cody should have listened to DDP, and then last week, I hear Tony Atlas mention the same thing, which was, in order for this company to really, really survive, Cody should stay out of the ring. And this still goes with the Love Me Daddy theme, as far as I'm concerned, because I can show you, Vince, that I can be a champion. I can show you. I personally, this is me, I would rather preserve my body and end up on Esquire or Fortune magazine as the mastermind that was able to take down Vince McMahon, or the masterminds, because it would probably be Tony Khan standing alongside next to Cody, dressed in suits, rather than feeling like I have to be the wrestler in the ring and then run the company. Because then you can completely commit to the business side of running AEW. And then let's say like in 3 years or so, because they've re-upped their contract, or even in 2 years, you decide to get in the ring, but slowly. But, like, I understand that they have to build that roster, but the roster slowly. We're in this mid-game. I wanted to say end game, but I can't. The mid-game where the new chess pieces are going to start appearing on the board. The Lance Archers, if we're going to get Matt Hardy, Brody, Lee, they're slowly ripping through the cracks. Slowly. And at this point, you shouldn't have to be the star and the booker and the producer and the running of the show. For what it's worth. Because it's very reminiscent of what his dad did. And to the point that, I'm booking all this, I'm winning all the matches. Random wrestling thought of the day.